tonight we are going to continue in this Twitter-pated series we've been doing. And some of y'all, this might be your first time in a couple weeks, but we started this series on Twitter-pated. No, it does not have anything to do with Twitter, the social media Twitter. I asked a couple people in the last couple weeks, you know what Twitter-pated means? They're like one lady said, I don't have Twitter. And I said, it has nothing to do with Twitter. It's a word, actually. It means excited or overcome by romantic feelings, smitten, swept off your feet in love. And this is kind of a spring kind of a time of year, and not kind of, it is spring. And so we see the trees blooming and birds chasing birds and bunnies chasing bunnies, and the love is in the air, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about this Twitter-pated, this art of courting tonight. But before we do that, if you were here for the first installment of this series, we talked about the art of attraction, okay? And there we talked about how character needs to supersede and override looks, because looks don't last. I mean, look at me. You look at my wedding pictures. I actually have it on my phone, and I don't look anything like this, okay? Looks don't last. Looks can fool you, right? And looks never be compared to character. And as children of God, godly character is what we need to be attracted to when it comes to dating or seeking someone else or being attracted to someone, okay? And then, actually, let me read this quote to you from Tommy Nelson. It says, you need to become the person that the type of person you are looking for wants to marry. So that's what this is all about, because everybody wants to fall in love. Everybody wants to find that person. Everybody wants to find the perfect match for them. And you see, someone on TV or a movie, you're like, oh, just, if only, maybe one day like this person, just based off appearance and attraction. But it's got to go deeper than that. It's got to be a character thing, because we belong to Jesus. And then last week, we talked about the art of, anybody remember we talked about the art of dating? Everybody say dating. Dating, the art of dating, and we talked about why you should date. We need to date to have fun, enjoy life, build relationships, and to prepare yourself for marriage. And who should you date? You should date someone that you enjoy being with, someone that is a born-again Christian if you are, someone who has an authentic, real faith, not just say, I'm a Christian, I go to church. It needs to be real. And then how you date, we talked about how you need to date with respect, with honor. You need to date with a desire to grow them and to grow yourself, but also mainly to prepare yourself for marriage with marriage in mind, everything you do with self-control. Okay, and we're going to talk about that a little more tonight as well. So tonight, everybody got a sheet? Everybody got a sheet? If you don't, there's a few more in the back. Raise your hand if you need a sheet. Anybody? Okay, we're good. All right. Tonight we're going to talk about the art of courting. And you're like, what in the world's courting? What's the deal? Why would you teach us about this thing this word we never use? This word courting at the top of your page there, courtship is when you enter into a repetitive, exclusive relationship to discover if this is the person you are supposed to marry. So it's a repetitive, exclusive relationship. In other words, I don't know what y'all call it now, but we called it going steady. I know that's kind of dumb, but we called it that, right? We're going steady. Whatever that means, we're steady, okay? So, but whatever you want to call it, the words change, but a serious, exclusive, repetitive dating relationship. Now, you want to know what's the difference between a dating relationship and a courting relationship? Let me tell you this. Dating is you're looking for one. Courting is you found one. Might not be the one, but you found one, right? Dating, there's no physical touch because you're just one guy with one girl at one specific location, enjoying each other, enjoying that specific thing. But courting, you hold hands. You might even share a small kiss. Dating, there's no expectations, right? With courting, there's responsibility. There's commitment. So that's where we are. Now, some of y'all have never been in a serious relationship. Some of y'all have never been on a date. I know adults in their 20s that have never been on a date, and that's fine. But one day you probably will, if you think you'll be married, you will have to date that person. And eventually it'll move into a courtship and a serious relationship, which leads to engagement, which leads to dun, 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 right? So that's where we're headed with this series. Everybody wants to fall in love. You ever seen these, Match.com, eHarmony, Christian Mingle, my favorites, FarmersOnly.com, right? Y'all seen those? They still show those, right? I want to show you a little spoof on those things by two Christian guys called the Skit Guys. Check this out. Need Harmony.
My life was void. It was like I had this God-sized hole in my heart, and I was looking for something, like I needed peace, right? And I remember I said to myself, Debbie, you need peace. You deserve peace. And then I went to Need Harmony, and they connected me with Tony. This is my Tony. Say hi, Tony.
Hi. After being rejected from all the other dating websites, I lowered my standards and went to Need Harmony. And this is what I wound up with.
Tony, you're such a Phil.
I kept looking, holding out for the best, and then I thought, who am I kidding? You know, I mean, I'd rather be holding hands than holding out.
Have you ever been looking for that prince or princess charming, but you can't seem to find your happily ever after? We here at Need Harmony know what you're going through. Relationships, they can be oh so painful and take quite a long time to mature. Let us take the pressure off of you. We may not have Mr. or Mrs. Right, but we do have Mr. and Mrs. Right now.
I was blind, but now I see. Thanks to Need Harmony. That rhymes. I was online, just passing the day, and then Gary emailed me, and I couldn't.
I was looking for someone to spend the rest of my life with when this ray of sunshine came into my life. Subsequently, I discovered she was married, so that's when I went to Need Harmony and connected with Nicole. When I first laid eyes on her, I knew I could do better, but who really wants to mess with it? So, thanks, Need Harmony.
Thank you, Need Harmony.
My mom would always say nobody'd ever love me and I'd never amount to anything. She's right. But hey, I'll tell you this, I'd rather be unhappy than be lonely. Am I right? All right? I'm right.
I have intimacy issues.
And I'm a hugger.
We know you have needs, no matter how distorted they may be. Let us help you declare your unhealthy habits. Why not? You're just going to do them anyway.
Have you ever said to me, I want a hug?
No.
Have you ever said that? Well, I don't care because I'm going to give you one.
No.
Hug, 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 hug.
We have this great chemistry. I mean, it's like we're soulmates or something. Sometimes we even finish each other's
Meals?
sentences like we practiced.
I'm out of here.
Guess who's back on the market, Need Harmony? This girl.
So do what millions of people have already done and set your standards just a little bit lower. Log on to needharmony.com and let Need Harmony introduce you to a whole new life of compromise.
Yeah, that's perfect, right? Isn't that just what we're all looking for? Someone. How many of y'all thought of me when it says hug, 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 hug? Oh, watch that. And I thought that's me. I just hug, 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 hug. Tonight we're going to give you 8 steps for courting. So I'm going to give you 8 individual words and to kind of walk you through this process of courting and what it should look like. And I know some of y'all are young and you're like, dude, I'm not getting married for 20 more years. It's okay. The reason we talk about these things is so you don't show up on a eHarmony or Need Harmony video one day looking for someone, and that's fine. I know a lot of godly people, not a lot, but a few that have met their spouse on those websites. But the point is, God has someone for you, and how you're going to find them, and what's that going to look like in your life. So number 1, to start us off, everybody say observation. Observation of yourself, to take a long look at. Before you are ready to get into a relationship, you need to take a long look at yourself, to observe your ability to be married. And some of y'all are like, I no way. And that's cool, but one day there will be. And I know you're young, but remember, there's a lot spiritually, financially, emotionally, psychologically that needs to prepare yourself for a marriage one day. And so you need to take a look at yourself, an observation. Number 2, edification. Everybody say edification. That word means to build up, not to tear down. You know, I'm around couples a lot, and I've seen too many dating relationships that they're just flat out mean to each other. They're rude to each other. They're disrespectful. They tear each other down and make fun of each other and poke. And I get hanging out a little bit every once in a while, Mason, and doing that to people all the time. I'm just kidding. But there's a level, there's a degree that you have to be careful because it can become too much when you poke and make fun of people. But a relationship is to edify, to build up, not tear down. So in a dating relationship, you're supposed to build up. In a relationship, you should be able to say, I'm a better guy, I'm a better girl, I'm more like Jesus because I'm in this relationship. Not, You know, every time I'm with her, every time I'm with him, they tear me down, they beat me up, I feel less of a person. No, as Christians, we need to build each other up, to edify each other in Christ, all right? You help each other fulfill your calling from God. You're calling from God to be like Jesus, to pursue him, to pursue the gospel, to share the love with other people. And that's the second step in this courting steps. The first verse there, I don't think I can put it on your sheet, did I? Nope. Write this down if you have a pen. 1 Thessalonians 5:11 tells us to encourage each other and build one another up, just as you are doing. Encourage each other, build up each other, not discourage and tear down, right? Ephesians 4:29, another powerful verse. Write that down as well. Ephesians 4:29 says, "Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as good for building up as fits the occasions, that it may give grace to those who hear." Unfortunately, a lot of my conversations aren't giving grace. They're corruptive. And we need to be careful to build up and to encourage and to be there to love people to Christ. And in a courting relationship, in a dating relationship, in a serious, exclusive relationship, you need to be edifying each other. Everybody say edification. Number 2. Number 3, a courting relationship should be edifying, but there needs to be evaluation as well. Evaluation. See, take some steps to see if you are where you need to be in order to be in this relationship. I dated, I said this last week, I dated a good bit before I met my wife. And there was a lot of those relationships that were purely based on physicalness, purely based on the fact that we got along, we had common interests, and there was nothing, it was all superficial, surface level. There was no depth to it. And that's not God's plan for your relationship with anybody, especially with someone you're dating exclusively. So take steps to see if you're where you need to be in that relationship. Ask yourself, am I where I need to be in my walk with Christ? Because if you're not, a relationship will not help you. A dating relationship, if you're not where you need to be spiritually, a dating relationship will do nothing but make it harder and pull you away from your walk with God, okay? And there needs to be some evaluation in the person you're with. Are they where they need to be with Christ? Otherwise, you're wasting your time in that relationship. Being exclusive with that person, you're wasting your breath. And if you're wasting your mom and daddy's money, right? I mean, come on. I can't tell you how much money I've spent on ex-girlfriends, and not yet any boyfriends, Molly, but we're going to wait on that one. But it's just, you're wasting your time, you're wasting your finance, you're wasting your energy, you're wasting your resources, okay? If they're not where they need to be spiritually, and if you're not where you need to be. So take an evaluation of where you are as in relationship to Christ. And then there's number 4. Here's the biggie. Once you've gotten these steps, you've observed where you are, you're in a relationship that's edifying, and you've looked at yourself, okay, I'm okay with God. I'm not where I need to be, but I'm getting there. She's not where she needs to be, but she's getting there. I like this person. I enjoy this person. We have a lot in common. You know, let's declare that. Let's declare that with each other. So now, this is after you're dating a while, a couple weeks. You're with this person, you enjoy them. You're wanting to be exclusive. You need to declare those feelings for that person. You need to sit down and say, look, and it starts with the guy, by the way. The guy needs to take this initiative. Sit down and say, hey, Susie Q, I really like you. Hey, that kind of rhymes. I really like you. I don't want to date anybody else. I'd like to just date you. And you declare that to her and to others. Now, you older people, I'm 40-something. I don't know, how, 46? Am I 46? Okay. Yeah, and back when I was in school in the 90s, we had these big honking class rings that guys ordered. Some people still have them, right? There's a big old things. The stone on top will be your birthstone. And when you were dating someone and you wanted to go to the next level and be exclusive or go steady or whatever you called it, we would give our class ring to the girl, and she would take the class ring, and usually because we had bigger hands, and she'd put string around the bottom of it and slide on this right hand index finger. And y'all remember? Okay. And you'd wear that around, and that was just a statement of declaration. Hey, I belong to this guy's ring. Now, I don't know what y'all do now, but that's kind of weird. I was thinking about that as I was studying, and I don't know if there's any comparison to that in today's society. Is there? There's probably not. But to declare that vocally, but also declare that with your time, with your resources, with your energy, that you really care for this person and you exclusively want to date them. Okay. Like I said, it should start with a guy. And you sit down and explain that to her. Now, girls, how would you feel if you were dating this guy, you had common interests, you were a Christian, he's a Christian, you like being with this person, he sits down and says, hey, Susie Q, or insert your name. When I'm with you, I honestly feel closer to God. I enjoy being with you. You make me want to be more like Jesus. When I'm with you, there's this presence. I just have good feelings when I'm with you. And I don't know if you're the right person for me or if you're the one for me, but I do know if you're not, whoever that person is, they're going to be a lot like you. Would you give me the privilege of dating you exclusively and to court you? Now, girls, is there anybody want to volunteer and say, you know what, if I really care for a guy, I don't want him to say that kind of stuff to me. No, that'd make you feel good, wouldn't it, Claire? If this guy you really cared about, he sat you down and described his affection for you, described how when he was with you, you pushed to be more like Jesus. He declared his affection for you, not necessarily saying, I love you, because, I don't know about y'all, but that was a big thing when I was in school. You didn't say you love somebody until you were really serious. But he declared his feelings for you in an exclusive way. That would make you feel good, wouldn't it, girls? To have that exclusivity, that's a word somewhere in there. But anyway, with him and only him. So you need to give each other, and because not all relationships work out, and you might like the guy and you might enjoy being with him, but he just gets on your nerves. And at that point, when he declares his affection for you, you need to give her the out, by the way, guys. If anybody ever tries this, please tell me. I'd love to know how this goes. But you sit down with a girl and you explain it. This is what I want to do. I really care for you. Let's date just each other. Can you give me the privilege of courting you? And you need to give her an out to say, you know what, I really like you, so-and-so, but I'm not feeling it. Be ready for that, okay, guys? And to walk away, because you're wasting your time and you're wasting your life spinning your wheels and growing your relationship if she ain't reciprocating, if it's not there for her, okay? And this is it's kind of weird for some of y'all because you aren't dating yet, but when you get there, you'll understand a little better. And it hurts deeper and longer and harder if you wait till further on in the relationship to make that severance, okay? So make it obvious and go your separate ways if it's not mutual, all right? So that's number 4, that's the declaration. Number 5, discovery. So if you spend a lot of time with someone doing life together, you're going to discover a lot about them. You're going to really get to know the good and the bad and the ugly about that person. I mean, when I was in school, you didn't go on family vacation with the girl you dated. Nowadays, people date a month and they go on vacation together. I mean, that's just crazy to me. But when you spend a lot of time with someone, you discover and you figure out where they are. You figure out what makes her tick. You figure out what irritates him the most. You see the underside of the rock. Now, when I say that, I picture kind of like maybe a dried up creek or something that used to have a good bit of water. You look and there's this pretty rock and the water's cleaned it off and it's nice and pretty. Maybe it's a little shiny and that's a pretty rock, and you bend down to pick it up and you lift it up, and on the other side of that rock is algae and dirt and maybe some worms or some little creatures crawling up, and you're like, oh, and you drop the rock. Well, it looked pretty on this side. When you flipped over that rock, it wasn't so pretty. And when you spend an exorbitant amount of time with someone, you do life together in this area, and you see that the underside of the rock, it's not always as pretty as it was on the other side. And that's okay, as long as it's not sinful. Because girls, listen to me. If you're dating a guy, and every time you get in the car with him, and someone pulls out in front of him, he starts cussing and hollering and screaming, Joe Mark, are you stupid idiot? Pulling out in front of me. What are you doing? You're a moron, Now, every once in a while, we all have road rage, right? But every time, hey, here you need to think in your mind, hey, this guy's got issues. He's got anger issues. I'm not so sure I want to go further along in this relationship with this guy. Guys, if you're with a girl and and you're in this relationship and you are spending a lot of time together and you're exclusive and you're courting, you're dating seriously, you're going steady, and she's constantly comparing herself to other girls and always saying, I'm so fat. I wish I looked like her, or why can't I look that good? Or why is my hair always, and they're always downing herself and her physical appearance and her way God made her. You need to think in your mind, okay, this is an issue. She has self-esteem issues. She has her identity in Christ issues. And you need to think, okay, is this something that I can, and that's a sin, by the way. So is road rage. You get angry that quickly. That's a sin. And when you discover the underside of this rock is full of sin in their life, you need to take an inventory and say, am I willing to go forward in this relationship if this is the kind of person they are at their core, in their character? Okay? This discovery is a pivotal point in relationships. And it's a turning point. And when you see these things, and you discover these things, it can pull you away, but also can drive you closer, because there's some things that are little just quirky things that you're okay with as long as they're not sinful. Okay? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I should have figured this out. I've shared this before, but when I mean, I was dating my girlfriend in college and just happened to be my future wife. I honestly don't ever, not a single time, remember seeing the floor in her dorm room. Not one time. I don't even know if she had carpet or linoleum or concrete or what. I never saw the floor in her dorm room, ever. Why? Because it was constantly covered with clothes and junk and book bags and paper and not dirty, but just clutter. And I'm okay with that. I discovered that in my wife, and I'm okay with that. I obviously married her, and I love her to death, and she's still that way. But you know what? That's not a sin, right? So we're able to push through that. And don't even get her started on my quirky things and my issues and my struggles. I got way more than she has. But all that to say is this discovery, and when you're in this relationship, you discover who they are. You discover the way they're raised, okay? Because, I was raised one way and she was raised another way. And in relationships, you find these things out and you work through them as long as they're not sinful. And if they are sinful, you address them as sin and move past them or get out or walk away, okay? Which leads us to number 6, which is resolution. Everybody say resolution. Now, in dating or in a serious courting relationship, you have to work through your problems. If I couldn't stand that floor being so filthy and it drove me crazy, I got on to her and I said, Misty, why can't you clean this floor up? This is ridiculous. You're such a, what's the word? Slob or whatever. And I'm constantly getting on to her. That's going to bother her. And she might, one, make a change and start picking up more because she loves me or because she wants to make me happy and or whatever. But we have to resolve our issues. We have to be able to work with each other to resolve. Now, the word resolve means to come to an answer, decision, a solution to a conflict or a problem. There needs to be resolution in relationship because if there's no resolution, listen, there's no relationship. And you're going to still have issues, conflicts, struggles, problems in marriage, okay? But in those major things, if there are things you're not sure you can get over, you've got to resolve them and work through them together as a couple, or you can't have a meaningful, powerful, godly relationship. Now, God doesn't expect us to be perfect. No. But he does expect us to be perfectible. That only comes through his grace and through his love. And that's part of the sanctification. Everybody say sanctification. You got to say it like that, sanctification. Becoming holy. Growing in your faith and maturing in your love for God and maturing in your understanding of scriptures and your prayer life and your service and your giftedness, and that's the sanctification process and sanctification. So, but there's only one perfect person. Obviously, he's in heaven waiting for us. Okay, but he wants us to look to him. He wants us to do his work. He wants us to run to him. And he wants to make us more like him. That's his sanctification. But it requires us seeking him. He even tells us in Matthew 6:33, Jesus tells us to seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Also in Colossians 3:1 and 2, we're challenged with, if then you have been raised with Christ. In other words, if you're a believer, if you're born again, if you've been raised with Christ, seek the things that are above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your minds on things that are above, not on things on the earth. Seek him. Set your mind on things of God. And don't be so worried about the silly, frivolous, goofy, intangible, materialistic, worldly things that don't have eternal value. Like a dirty, cluttered floor. Okay? Seek him. Seek his face. Desire to grow in him. And when you're truly seeking him, who is the author and perfecter of our faith, Jesus, we're fixing our eyes on him, right? The other stuff just works its way out. The resolution comes when we're trusting him. The only way to work through your problems and issues and struggles in any relationship, not just in your courting or dating relationship, but is to trust God. Amen? To seek him, to keep your eyes fixed on him, to seek the things that are above and let him do all the work, okay? Now, at this point in a relationship, okay, you observation, edification, evaluation, declaring your love and your affection for each other, discovering out the underside of the rock, you're working through your resolve and trying to figure out your issues and struggles and problems. If you're not already here previously in this, you're going to have, at this point in your relationship, you're going to have desire for that person, a physical, sexual desire for this person. And this is a God-given passion for your future mate. The passion should be there. Okay, you should have those desires. Now, last week we talked a little bit about that in Song of Solomon. Next week, don't miss next week, we're going to talk a lot about those desires. His desire for her desires for him, their desires for God. But But that desire should be there. And remember, there's absolutely nothing wrong, nothing sinful for desiring to be with a person that you love that you're going to marry. But the point is, no one, and even, I'm just speaking for myself, until I said yes and she said yes, did I 100% emphatically know that she would be my wife? No. You can say, oh, I knew. I've known since the time I met her, whatever. But until you say I do, they're not your wife. They're not your husband. So even though you have these desires for each other, if you act on these desires, and I've said this before, if I fool around with another woman before I marry my wife, I'm committing adultery. You understand? Girls, if you fool around with another guy in an intimate way, that's God put in you, but put in you for your future husband, and guys for your future wives, you're committing adultery. That's someone else's wife. That's someone else's husband. So the desires are God-given, and they're amazing, and they're beautiful, and they're God, but they're designed by God, a perfect God for marriage, inside the realm of marriage, okay? So those desires must be given to God. Those desires must be turned over to Him, okay? And how does a child of God keep his way pure? Psalm 119, verse 9 through 11. I think I had it on last week's. I think it was on last week's. Yeah, here it is. How can a young man keep his way pure? How can a young woman keep her way pure? By guarding it, by guarding my way, by guarding my life according to your word. With my whole heart I seek you. Let me not wander from your commandments. I have stored up your word in my heart that I might not sin against you. That's how you keep your way pure. That's how you're able to walk in the Spirit and not in the flesh when you're in a relationship and you have these desires, okay? Their character in Christ is what makes them desirable. Not just because they're hot, good looking, eye candy, whatever else. And that's good, okay? But which leads us to, like we finished off last week, this self-control. Everybody say self-control. This desire that God put in you for your future mate has to lead to self-control, you have to surrender to Him. You have to give over to Him and have self-control, which, like I said last week, you're not able to have control. You can't say no. There's no way. And that's why ungodly people have sex with 15, 20 people before they get married. Because they're not able to say no. They're not able to say, whoa, that's wrong. You're not my wife. You're not my husband. Because they don't walk in the Spirit. And the self-control is a gift of God. It's a fruit of the Spirit. And walking with God is the only way to show self-control. Galatians 5:16 says, walk in the Spirit. Literally, walk in the Spirit. And you will not gratify the desires of the sinful nature or of the flesh. These desires that are in you but in marriage, right? But you walk in the Spirit, you won't gratify those desires. Now, I've been privileged and blessed to do marriage, to marry a few people. And before I do that, I have sometimes 2, 3, 4 sessions with them, depending on how well I know them, in my office. And we talk about relationships. We talk about each other. We talk about what is a biblical marriage and what that looks like in your life and anyway, so we sit down and inevitably, and this could be usually the closest time would be like 6, 8 weeks before we marry them or I marry them, but we're talking about weeks, if not months before they say I do. And I ask them about their intimacy, about their purity, and because it's important. I even sat down with a couple, we might need to delete this, I'm not going to say names, but with this couple, and I pretty much asked them, are you sexually active with each other? Have y'all had sex already? And they both kind of looked at each other and said, yeah. And I said, what are your feelings about that? What do you think the Bible says about that? And they both said, well, we know it wasn't right, but it's been a while. They've been dating for like 5, 6 years. And I said, well, let me encourage, this is like 6, 8 months before they got married. I said, stop now, okay? Set the reset button right now. Let's just, for the next 6 months, give your purity, give your desires over to God and watch God bless that when you do it in the right way. And so, but if I ask them a question, hey, they're getting married in 6 months and aren't you looking forward to having sex? And they both go, not really. I'd be like, whoa, something's not right, because the desires for intimacy are God-given. You should desire those things in a marriage, okay? Are y'all with me? And that's a huge part of the bonding between a husband and wife. And that's, like I said, that's a desire that God gives you, but it must be given to Him and for Him to control and for Him to harness, okay? Band, come on up. We're going to sing ourselves out. But before we do that, I want you to look at the bottom of your sheet there. How does this art of courting apply to me? How does it apply to me? As a young person, you say, well, I'm not dating, I'm not serious, I'm not even looking at dating, I'm not even looking to marry, whatever. I don't have these struggles. Let me tell you what. If you aren't now, you will. And in 2 Timothy 2:22, and I don't think I put it on your sheet. I didn't. But you write that down. It says, flee youthful passions. Flee youthful passions and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace along with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart. Pursue Him. Run after Him. Okay? Are you with me? And when you do that thing, I'm reminded of the story of Joseph in the Old Testament. A woman tried to seduce him, a married woman. And he knew she was married. And he's like, oh, no. But she kept going. One day they're alone. And she said, come lay with me, come to bed. And she went to grab his jacket. Y'all remember the story? He took off and ran, left his jacket, and took off and ran. That's where we are when it comes to this desire in a pre-marriage relationship. Give it to God, flee from it, and pursue righteousness, all right?